Hello. Hi, Joe.
Shalom Aleichem, Rebbe.
Hi, Joey. How are you?
Good, Baruch Hashem. I just need 1 minute. I'm just parking, and then I'm going to set up Rebbe on Facebook, and Rebbe will be good to go.
How are you? How are you, Joey?
Baruch Hashem, Rebbe. You're doing good.
Are you feeling a little better?
Kacha, kacha. I'm driving, so it must be a little bit better. Okay, 1 second. Let me set Rebbe up here. I'm going to...
Shalom Aleichem, Rebbe. Shmuley.
Hi, Shmuley. How are you? What's going on?
Hashem, all is good. All is good.
What's going on, Rebbe? How are you?
Hey, you the boy. What's going on?
Baruch Hashem, everything's good.
Everything is good? Where are you? At home by your parents?
I'm by Men Lakewood. There's a big shloshim today for Morty they're making.
I got in touch with them. Where?
At a shtibel. They have a shtibel. We raised the money. We're making a shtibel for them.
I called the mom and the dad.
I wasn't really involved in it, but it's happening.
I spoke to the mom and the dad. I spoke to them.
Very nice. What's going on, Rebbe? Is there a lockdown in Telzadon, or?
No, but there are a lot of people getting sick in Israel every day.
It's a shame it gets better soon.
I hope so.
Okay, Rebbe, you're good to go. You're live on Facebook whenever Rebbe's ready.
Okay. First of all, I want to share a story with everybody, whoever's here. I can't tell exactly. I can't see. Gallery view, maybe? Here we go. I got it. Hi, Yaakov.
Hello, Rebbe.
Yeah, I want to share with the guys a cool story that I heard this week. Maybe there's a little bit of a lesson, and then we'll talk a little bit about the 9 days. There was a couple this couple was a childless couple for 15 years. And they weren't able to get it together, and they cared very, very much about each other. But after 15 years, they made a decision, believe it or not, that each one felt that they were holding back the other one from having kids, etc. So they decided that they're going to go to the Rav and they're going to get divorced. So they went to the Beis Din and they got divorced. I'll say it a little bit quickly because I want to get to other things. It was very, very emotional, very traumatic. And then in the end of the day, a few weeks later, the lady realizes that she's actually pregnant. That's crazy. So she calls back the husband and she says, I've got some news for you. I'm actually pregnant. So we could go back to the Rav and, get married again. So he says to her, I'm sorry to tell you, but you may be forgetting that I'm a Kohen. And once I'm a Kohen can't be machzir his grusha. He can't take back his grusha. So they were distraught. There were no words to describe the pain that they felt. And he went to the Gadol Hador, this fellow, he went to Rav Yoshev, and he said to Rav Yoshev, you got to find a heter for me. There must be some heter. In all those books you have, there's got to be some sort of heter. And, he thought about it, and there's nothing, no heter. It's painful, but there's nothing to do. He says, I would suggest to you maybe go to my son-in-law. Go to my son-in-law, Chaim Kanievsky. Maybe he'll have some out-of-the-box type of piece of advice. So he goes to Rav Chaim. Rav Chaim thought about it, and he says, I don't see any way out of this issue. In this situation, I think only the Rebbeinu Shalom can help you. Only the Rebbeinu Shalom. This guy was devastated. So he picks himself up and he goes to Yerushalayim and he goes to the Kosel HaMaravi and he stands at the wall and he starts sobbing and sobbing and sobbing. To the point that the guy that's sitting right next to him comes to me and says, hey, mister, what's bugging you? What's on your mind? I can't daven. I can't, what, must be something really, really terrible. Tell me, maybe I can help you. So the guy says to him, what could you possibly help me? I mean, Rav Yoshev can't help me. Rav Chaim can't help me. Only Hashem can help me. He says, tell me anyway. Tell me what your problem is. So he tells him the whole story from beginning to end. And then the guy says to him, you know what I would do if I were you? You have a father? He says, yeah, sure, I have a father, but he's in an old age home in America, and he's with Alzheimer's. He's not in good shape. He's really not in very, very good shape. That doesn't make a difference. He's a father. You have a father, you go talk to your father. Ask your father. Ask your father what to do. So he thought the guy is crazy, but then again, he starts thinking, Chaim said, this is only from Hashem, and this. He hasn't seen his father for a long time anyway. So maybe if he would go see his father, he'll have a shtickle mitzvah. So he picks himself up, gets on a plane, goes to America, comes to the old age home. He says, how's my dad doing? So they say to him, nothing changed. The way it was, that's what it is, Alzheimer's. So he goes inside and he starts talking to his dad. And he's very, very, the father is very, very removed. Every now and then he has maybe, a half a second of clarity. And he tells him the story and he pours out his heart to his father. And after that, the father tells him, listen, I want to tell you something. You can go back to Israel and you could remarry that girl. Because you're not a Kohen. You're adopted. The guy was in shock. He went back, remarried the wife, and as they say in the United States, they lived happily ever after. Well, the moral of the story is that when you have a problem, you go talk to your father. And al-achas kama v'kama, when you have a father like the Rebbeinu Shalom. So then, of course, we have to go pick ourselves up. Or we got to talk to our dad. And always remember, like I grew up in the United States, I don't know if they still have the reruns anymore, but I grew up to the show that the name of the show was Father Knows Best, you know? And that was a cool story. I heard it this week. I thought I would share it with you. Okay, I want to share with you a Gemara Masechta Menachos, that the Gemara says when HaKadosh Baruch Hu, after the Churban Bayis, HaKadosh Baruch Hu destroyed the Beis HaMikdash, and he came to visit the Beis HaMikdash, and he found over there Avram Avinu. And Avram Avinu was standing in the Beis HaMikdash, and he says, "What are you doing over here, Avram?" So he says, "I'm coming to check out what happened. What's going on over here? Why the balagan? Where's the Beis HaMikdash? Where are my children? Where's everybody?" So he says, "Banecha chotu. Your children have sinned, the Golu, and they went into exile." So he tried to speak upon their behalf. He tried to, be a good defense attorney. Maybe it was a shoygig. Maybe it was inadvertent. Maybe this, maybe that. And he tried to, they kept Mila. Didn't work. Nothing worked. He put his hands on his head. And he was screaming and he was crying. And it actually went into my mind a couple of days ago. I recalled a particular story. About 20 years ago, I don't know if all of you were here, most of you were, most of the names that I see now. 20 years ago, we know what happened with the Twin Towers. The Twin Towers was massive. That was something out of control. And those Twin Towers, the truth is I was sitting actually downstairs like I am right now. And, we like to sometimes, I don't like so much screaming upstairs to my wife. So my wife, I get sometimes we get a telephone call. I get a telephone call from my wife. So she says to me, that a plane went into the World Trade Center. I said, you don't have to believe everything they tell you. Take it easy. Don't get carried away. But she was right, as you all know. And not only that, a couple of minutes later, the other one came tumbling down. And these two huge edifices, right, 100+ stories, they were gone. And it was down to ground zero. And I don't know if you people remember or don't remember, but, to drive in the BQE in the next period of time and to be missing that view of the World Trade Center, it was very, very shocking. And I had a friend from over here from Telstone. He's actually an Oldenburg guy. And he went for a visit back to the United States. And he told me that, like many, many people, that they went to ground zero. And, I always say about that, that Osama bin Laden, in his wildest dreams, couldn't have expected that he's going to have such success. That's crazy. It can't be. If you would be writing a fiction book, nobody would believe it. That the planes are going to knock off, maybe he'll give a crew cut to the World Trade Center. Maybe there'll be a hole in one spot on the World Trade Center. But that both buildings are going to come tumbling, crashing down. And all that's going to be left is the rubble on ground zero. Who would ever believe such a thing? And my friend, he went to ground zero and he stood there and he was pondering the enormity of what had taken place over here. And you know what happened? He burst out in uncontrollable tears. He couldn't control himself. what the World Trade Center had been and what was left of ground zero, it was such a shock that he had nothing to do but to put his hands on his head and bawl. So Lemaisa, that's what happened with the Beis Hamikdash. You know, the Beis Hamikdash was something so amazing. The Beis Hamikdash was big. The Beis Hamikdash was special. The Beis Hamikdash was kodesh. And like the Gemara says, Me'igra Roma Adbira Amikta. From a huge, tall building to a low pit. That's what happened by the Beis Hamikdash. So we have to try to instill in ourselves, I think the Mashal of World Trade Center is a pretty good, the shock of what was compared to what is something just dreadful. And I'll tell you what I think. You know, the first word in the Megillah that we say is Eicho. Eicho Yoshvo Bodod. And Chazal darshan that word Eicho is a playoff of what Adam HaRishon, after he did the sin of eating from the Eitz Hadas. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to him, Ayeko. Ayeko, the same letters, Eicho, Ayeko. Where are you, Adam? Who are you? Look at yourself. And I think that it's not just a play of words. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when he created the world, his idea of the Shechina, Adam would have brought Shechina to the world. There wouldn't have needed to be a Beis Hamikdash. The only reason that we need to have a Beis Hamikdash is because Adam flopped. And when Lamaisa, I believe that when we're mourning the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash, what we're really mourning is the destruction of ourselves, of what we could be, of what a human being can be, of how special HaKadosh Baruch Hu took every single one of us and he instilled in us a nishmas aleika mimal, a neshama from under the kisei hakavod. We have so much potential. And never. Look what many of the billions of humans in the world look like today. So I think ultimately what we're mourning is really the demise of man. And I want to share with you another story, and then we'll close up with this Gemara, with the end of the Gemara. There was a story, I tell it sometimes on the trips to Poland. You know, there was a big tzaddik, one of the greatest leaders of Torah Jewry over the generations was the Chidushei Harim. The Chidushei Harim was a little boy. He became an orphan from his father. He was brought up in the courts of the Koznitz Magid. He was a very special child. He was a very special little boy. He was maybe 2 years old. And he would like crawl around on the floor over there by the Magid, you know, to the point that the little kid, the Hasidim, when they were waiting to go into the Koznitz Magid, they would say to him, Itchemeya, we'll give you a zlota if you tell us where Hashem is. So he responded to them, I'll give you 2 zlotas if you tell me where he's not. So that was the way he was brought up. He was brought up by the Koznitz Magid, and he got older, and the Koznitz Magid passed away. And the Koznitz Magid had a son, Gedalia Moshe, and he became the Rebbe. And this Rebbe Gedalia Moshe was very mechabed the Chidushei Harim, as you can all imagine. The Chidushei Harim was a person that rubbed shoulders with the Gedolei Torah of the generation, Rebbe Akiva Eiger, the Nesivis, the Chemdas Shleima. It was big stuff, the Chidushei Harim. And you know, like it was big stuff for this Gedalia Moshe to have a chassid in his court of the stature of the Chiddushei HaRim. But he didn't like it, the Chiddushei HaRim. He didn't like being spoiled. He didn't like the kuchi koo method that we use in the Beit Zion. You know what I mean? He wanted tough love. That's what he wanted. He didn't want kuchi. And he found out that there was a Rebbe, a very big Rebbe by the name of Reb Simcha Bunim of Pshischa. So he decided that from now on he's going to go to Reb Simcha Bunim and he's going to become a chassid of the Rebbe Rebbunim. Now, the Chiddushei HaRim had 12 children, or 14 children, I don't remember. Now something dreadful happened. Every time the Chiddushei HaRim would pick himself up to go to travel to Reb Simcha Bunim, one of his children would die. It seems that there was a historian, some of the Jewish historians, they claim that there was a genetic disease in the family. I don't think that's, he was upset. This Gedalia Moshe was upset. There was some sort of kpeda. I'm not getting involved in that now. That's not the moral of this story. And every time he went, and it didn't dissuade the Chiddushei HaRim from going, because the Chiddushei HaRim understood that the emes was by Reb Simcha Bunim. He had to go there. He had to be connected to Reb Simcha Bunim. Later on, Reb Simcha Bunim passed away, and the Kotzker became the Rebbe. And after the Kotzker, the Chiddushei HaRim became Rebbe. All his children passed away, one by one. Nobody left. And he went to Reb Simcha Bunim, and he said, Reb Simcha Bunim, I don't understand something. The Pasuk says, the Chesed Hashem, La'olam al Yireyov. Isn't the Chesed of HaKadosh Baruch Hu supposed to be on those that fear him? I don't fear HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Why isn't HaKadosh Baruch Hu raining his Chesed on me? The Chesed Hashem al Yireyov. So he said, Rebbunim told him, look at the end of the Pasuk. V'tzidkosom livnei bonim. But the true tzedakah, the justification, and everything will come to be understood by the grandchildren. The Chiddushei HaRim had one grandson, the Sfas Emes. And that Sfas Emes became the leader of world Jewry. And that's what brought about the Gerech Hasidus to what it was. Imrei Emes supposedly had 100,000 Hasidim before the war, and to the great Gerech dynasty that you see today. But you know, sometimes we don't understand the ways of Hashem. And we wonder, Chesed Hashem al Yirei, Rabbi Shalom, why aren't you being mischased to me? Sidkosom livnei bonim, you have to wait for the bnei bonim. So the Gemara concludes over here, HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Avram Avinu. Avram Avinu was crying. And he told him, I want to tell you one thing. You don't realize, Avram Avinu. The Jewish people are nimshal. They're compared to a zayis ra'anan, to a zayit, to an olive. You know, I know for years that Eretz Yisrael is blessed. Eretz zeis shemen udvash. Right? You all know that. Eretz Yisrael is special. One of the special things about Eretz Yisrael is it has a lot of olives. I don't know about you guys. I can't stand olives. Not only that, Chazal tell us that if you eat olives, you forget your Torah. What's so special about olives? Is it pretty? You know, a cluster of grapes is gorgeous, right? But what in the world is special about olives? Olives are, I don't care with them. You know, if you put an olive on my pizza, I won't eat it. And there are very few things that I don't eat. So the Maharsha says that there's nothing special about the olive. The olive is really not special. What's special about the olive is the shemen that comes out, the oil that comes out. But to get the oil out, it takes time. The oil doesn't come out just by itself. You got to crop those olives. You got to stomp on them. You got to put them in the press. And the more you press it, the better the olive oil that comes out. And then you have delicious, beautiful olive oil that you could put for your salads. And you could make beautiful bonfires with the olive oil. and it could light up the world. You're going to wonder, would somebody say to somebody's making olive oil, and somebody will say to him, hey, what are you doing to those olives? Why are you banging the olives? That's not nice. You fool. Of course I'm banging the olives. I want to get out olive oil. The same thing, if we wonder, why has the Rebbeinu Shalom, why have we been banged up for 2,000 years? Why are they banging at us? Because we're going to get out that olive oil. It takes time. It takes time. But in the end, there's going to be olive oil. And it's going to go back to mamish, the beginning of time, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, Yehi or, there should be light. And you know what that light's going to be? That light is going to be us. And we're going to thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu for every drop of pressing, every drop of pain that we may have endured. And it's the same thing not only on the national, on a Jewish point of view as all us Jews, but it's also each one of us. To bring out the true good in every single one of us, the way we bring out the true good is, aside from Torah and mitzvahs, is when HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us a little bit of a patch, and sometimes things don't go exactly the way we would like. We have to know HaKadosh Baruch Hu is pressing out the olives to get out beautiful, beautiful oil. And the day will come that we're going to say to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Rebbeinu Shalom, why couldn't you have just pressed me a little bit more? A drop more? Because inevitably, that's the way, the best product that we could possibly derive from these olives is the olive oil. So this is what I wanted to share with you. Erev Tisha B'Av, it's a very difficult time. But, right, on the one hand, it's painful, it's shocking, it's, where we Jews have found ourselves today. We're not what we, the truth of the matter is, somebody said to me yesterday at the Shabbos table, he says to me, I don't understand. Like, what is going on over here? Like, the Mashiach is going to come for us? So I said, absolutely, he's going to come for us. There are things that all the big tzaddikim were able to fix up. The big tzaddikim, and they did it. They fixed up what they needed to fix up. But you know what's on the bottom of the, where all the junk, the bottom of the riverbed, where all the junk falls and all the gook and all that stuff, who's going to go down there where it's so dirty? You can't have big people like Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. They're going to go down. You need somebody, you need to have a generation of plumbers. That's us, right? But I once asked, I have a brother-in-law that's a plumber. So he says that somebody asked him, how do you put your hand in somebody's toilet? So he says, every time I put my hand in, I get them out with $500. So this is who we are. We're a generation of plumbers, right? But plumbers can make good money, And in Yetzer Hashem, the big bucks, Bias HaMashiach, big in Beis HaMikdash, we're going to be there in Yetzer Hashem. Amen. Thank you very much for coming on, everybody. I appreciate it very, very much. Nice to see you all.
Rabbi. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Also, Shmuley. Thank you, Avrami. Thank you.
Thanks, Rabbi.